high-stakes 2025 German federal election is set for February the 23rd. Following the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition, Germany's political landscape has been drastically reshaped. The key question now is, who will lead the country next? The conservative Christian Democrats, led by Friedrich Merz, are currently the front-runners, but the Social Democrats and other parties are also vying for power. Immigration, the economy and Germany's role in Europe remain central issues of the debate. With multiple potential coalition scenarios on the table, the road to the chancellery remains uncertain. This election will not only determine Germany's next leader, but also shape the country's domestic policies and international alliances. Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
Following the highly anticipated debate, Bloomberg has reported that Chancellor Olaf Scholz struggled to deliver the decisive blow he urgently needed against conservative frontrunner Friedrich Merz in the first of the two televised debates ahead of Germany's snap election in 2 weeks. During the debate, both Social Democrat Scholz and Merz, who leads the poll-topping CDU-CSU alliance, urged that they are best positioned to restore Europe's largest economy to meaningfully growth while keeping the far-right Alternative for Germany party at bay with a strong stance on irregular migration and domestic security. The news outlet added that both Scholz and Merz outlined their strategies for handling the unpredictable of the new US President Donald Trump and his threatening tariffs on European goods. The two men are set to face off again next Sunday and will be joined by the lead candidates for the Greens and the far-right Alternative for Germany, Robert Habeck and Alice Willett, respectively. Germany's snap election on February the 23rd, 2025 will determine the future of the country's leadership, with political tensions high after Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition collapsed. Key issues including immigration, economic recovery, and possible new alliances.
Germany heads to the polls on February 23, 2025, following the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition. The Christian Democratic Union, CDU, led by Friedrich Merz, is leading the polls with strong support for its conservative platform. Key issues include immigration control and reviving Germany's economy, weakened by high energy costs and Chinese competition. Merz has pledged tighter immigration controls and tax cuts while emphasizing support for Ukraine. However, his controversial ties with the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, have sparked backlash. Meanwhile, Scholz's Social Democrats, SPD, weakened by coalition infighting, are struggling to retain influence with their own chancellor candidate. Other candidates include AfD's Alice Weidel, popular among younger voters, and the Greens' Robert Habeck, a key figure in Scholz's government. With Germany's 630-seat parliament, coalition talks are already underway. Polls indicate that the CDU-CSU may lead, but coalition talks could include the SPD, Greens, or Free Democratic Party, FDP, depending on the results. The outcome of this election will reshape Germany's political landscape for years to come.
And for more analysis, we're joined from Hiddenhausen by Hussein Khidr, Deputy Chairman of Migration and Diversity Group of the Social Democratic Party, and from Berlin, Abdel Masih Shami, German Arab Relations Coordinator in the German Parliament. A very warm welcome to both our guests, Mr. Khidr. After the debate between Chancellor Scholz and his opponent Friedrich Merz, what political alliances are you anticipating for the 2025 elections after the collapse of the traffic light coalition, sir?
Greetings to you and to the viewers at the outset. No one can say today what alliances can happen. We're still waiting for the 23rd, and the German voter will say their word. There will be more influence on the public opinion, whether by our candidate or the Christian Union candidate. We cannot say 100% who's going to rule, but if the Democratic Party was able to achieve more than 20%, we can say that we would have the harmonization such as in the miracle reign, and I wouldn't think that the other party would achieve 20% to rule in cooperation with the Christian Union. We would actually have, in this case, to have three parties ruling: the Christian, the Greens, and the Communist Party. If they agree after the election on a unified program to set common goals and objectives that are stated in their election campaigns. If they were not able to reach such agreement, we will face more political issues that we would need more than three political parties, maybe 4 or 5, to form the 50% plus 1, which will be very difficult to form a government or to reach the concept of minority government, which is less than 50% votes, which will be very difficult to rule a country such as Germany, because in this case the ruling party or the ruling chancellor would have actually to consult and negotiate each time with different political parties to achieve the number of votes he wants. These are the solutions, the probable ones, but I cannot tell you anything before the 23rd. I think that all political parties today are running for elections. They are running to rule, but there are a lot of conflicts that we witnessed during the elections by the election campaign, and the biggest beneficiary today is the alternative party, which is a far-right party, and they are the most benefiting from the political tension. We have seen, due to the differences between parties, Friedrich Merz came with an illegal and non-constitutional amendment, and he knew that the democratic parties would refuse this, so he took this step that we call in the street as he's testing the waters to achieve a majority. And we have been witnessing demonstrations and protests in all the German streets with tens of thousands of protesters actually against the amendments, and he wanted actually to test the streets if they're going to respond negatively or positively to his decisions, as he was hoping that after the elections, if he was not able to reach an agreement with the democratic parties, that he could actually form a government in cooperation with the far-right alternative party, which was met by a rejection, and his popularity declined according to surveys. And even in yesterday's debate, we've seen as a survey who was better during the debate.
Mr. Shami, in the recent debate between Scholz and Merz, we saw significant differences in their approach to both domestic and foreign policy. How do you think, sir, these differences will affect the political alliances that will emerge after the 2025 elections?
Thank you. Greetings to you, everyone. Sorry, I am not a member in the parliament. Of course, the alliances, as stated by my colleague, it is really hard to actually expect clearly what's going to happen out of the next election. There is the alternative party is making a lot of progress recently, which is unprecedented, and thus will be on the account of the traditional parties. There is a decline for the CDU, as we have seen, and they are not able now to achieve a majority to form a comfortable government or alliances with small parties to rule maybe in an absolute manner, as we have seen before, when there are two parties conflicting like this. And after the incident in the parliament a few days ago and the alliance between the alternative party, it lost a lot of supporters, and now there is a decline in the support to the Merz character inside the political party. There is a lot of decline in popularity and support inside the German community to the CDU. And if there are alliances that might happen later on away from the alternative party, there will be between the traditional parties, the CDU and the SPD, and they will be able to form a major majority to also form an alliance to another party. But this is very difficult and challenging. There is now a conflict between the SDP and the CDU, and so it's difficult to see a future alliance between the two parties. The Greens remain, who are not also in consensus with the other two parties, so it's really difficult to form an alliance between any of the three parties, especially the alternative party. I don't know, maybe after the last attempt by Merz, there might be an alliance later on between the central right and the far right. It's a probability, but the map of alliances is undoubtedly difficult now in Germany.
Mr. Khidr, in the debate between Charles and Merz, we saw different strategies, sir, from both candidates. How do you think Charles will present himself as a leader in the coming elections compared to Merz, especially considering their past positions and party ideologies, sir? In the debate between Charles and Merz, we saw different strategies for both candidates. How do you think Charles will present himself as a leader in the coming elections compared to Merz, especially considering their past positions and party ideologies? Mr. Khidr?
You raised a very important point, which is how Scholz introduces himself as a better candidate. It's true in terms of expertise and experiences. If we are comparing Merz to Scholz, we will find that the Merz candidate has no leadership expertise outside of business and corporate. He has never assumed an office as a mayor or a head of a county or even a minister. He has never had a role, a political role, even though his party assumed office in Germany for a long time during Merkel terms, but he was not assigned to any leadership role. In comparison to Olaf Scholz, he was a minister on the state level, he was a minister on Germany level, he was the mayor of Hamburg twice, and now Chancellor of Germany. And Olaf Scholz also was known as the manager of crises. We've seen his response with the corona pandemic and his responsible handling of the Russian-Ukrainian war. All the time he has been trying to support Ukraine and working with Ukraine to protect the European borders against the continuous Russian aggression without involving Germany. To say that Germany supported war or aggression on Russia in Russia, or even by supporting them with weapons or on a political level. He has always been trying and succeeding in leading Germany as a strong nation and to support Ukraine in a negotiation position. We have seen in the economy file after the implication of the corona pandemic, when corporate and German countries faced a lot of issues, he created programs to fight the crises and the implications of human capital resources. He created the law of attracting human capital and human resources to outsource workers and labor. He changed even the laws of nationalities and residency and accommodation inside Germany. We have seen him also when there was a state of inflation. He took tax measures and procedures supporting social guarantee and social insurances and pensions. We have seen Olaf Scholz handling matters with responsibility, with programs and plans, and we have seen Merz actually handling everything randomly and wants to rule Germany by any means possible. And during the Merkel reign, he was away from any leadership position because it's known that Merz is someone who takes random decisions or emotional decisions without any study or map or programs. As far as I remember, here in Germany, even during the Merkel reign, she ruled him out of the leadership parameter or the decision-making environment in Germany. And during the election campaign, he changed his statements more than once and denied stating some things. Even during the debate, the presenter asked him about the Russian-Ukrainian war and his threat to Putin and handing Ukraine weapons to actually bomb Russian facilities. He denied this, and she confronted him with his videos saying so. He was taking a zigzag manner of talking as not a irresponsible person. He's very dangerous to rule Germany, whether individually or even with the far right that he is trying to attract. He is trying to be alternative to the current alternative.
And Mr. Hashemi, as we approach the 2025 elections, do you think the coalition dynamics will change if one of the major parties, like the Social Democratic Party or Christian Democratic Union, fails to secure a clear majority? What are the possible outcomes of the future or for the future of German politics in such a scenario?
I think there are a lot of things that might happen. I think today there is a rise of far right supporters. If they gain a lot of votes, they will rule the situation and they will be in charge of forming alliances. And amid this conflict and tensions between the two major parties in Germany, and in the light of the non-consensus on the candidates, I would disagree with my colleague, Mr. Hussein, regarding Merz. He's very accurate. He does not have the experience and he's not popular in Germany, and there is no consensus that he might actually be able to lead this phase. But there is also disagreements regarding Scholz, and some people regard him and perceive him as a failure managing the Russian-Ukrainian war, as he did not pay off any positive outcomes with diplomacy and politics, and he could avoid a lot of economic issues. There are disagreements. Personally, I think that he was a very good politician and he handled the situation very well, but there is disagreements in the German inside. And the very tough period Germany went through during Scholz's reign, we have known this, that the voters will not choose him again after the tensions and conflicts that happened during his time, which is what the alternative party is using now to create a propaganda to win the elections. Now the far right is taking control over Europe, not just Germany. They are receiving support from all over Europe, and the German votes now might go to the alternative party to solve the issues created between Germany and the United States, which are worsening today in the term of Scholz. And after Trump assumed office, I think that the majority will be for the alternative party, and they will be able to manage the upcoming period if they were able to create and form alliances and build alliances with the small other parties. They would be able to confront the major parties, and they will be able to create a far-right government. I think both major parties have low chances of winning so far. We have seen a bad experience for the Greens. Today, the ruling alliance received a defeat, and we see an early election due to the government failure. And I think they have lower chances of assuming office. Today, the bigger chances is for the alternative party, and there will be an alliance between the central right and the far right.
Mr. Khidr, the potential for alliances such as Kenya or Jamaica has been discussed frequently. What impact do you think these alliances will have on Germany's future foreign policy, sir?
Of course, each political party have their own policies which are different from other parties. We have seen alternative parties such as the Alternative Party with very different policies towards the Russian Ukrainian issue. Today, the alliances that are going to be formed will determine the foreign policy of Germany. And they might see a change that might involve Germany in the deterioration of very important relations that Germany built for tens of years, and might also take Germany to conflicts that we have been avoiding since World War II. So if we see today that there is a moderate government from the SPD or the Greens, we will see that all of these parties will continue in the diplomatic German moderate policy that we are used to. But if we have to form alliances with the alternative party or other far-right parties that will not only influence the Germany foreign policy, but also direct influence to the strong German economy and the strong German industry that have lasted for several years. We have seen the German government with its political internal tensions, which led to the early election held in February. This government was able to form a support fund for the first time since World War II to prep the German army to defend the interests of Germany and Europe, and we will see that the other parties are against such moves. Today, no one actually can see the future of Germany-foreign relations, but you can only expect if we have two parties always defending Putin and his policies, you can actually expect how they would be if they actually take office in their relations with the United States of America.
Very much. Thank you very much, Sarah, for your intake. And that was Hussein Khadr, Deputy Chairman of Migration and Diversity Group of the Social Democratic Party, and Abdel Masih Hashemi, German Arab Relations Coordinator in the German Parliament. Thank you very much for your insights. And the question remains, Germany's snap election on February the 23rd, 2025 will determine the future of the country's leadership. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Q News.